An intellectual carrot. The mind boggles.
You see? You see? Your stupid minds. Stupid! Stupid!
Earth has had Santa Claus long enough. We will bring him to Mars.
I've been afraid a lot of times in my life. But I didn't know the real meaning of fear until I had kissed Becky.
One thing will be clear. It's not for man to interfere in the ways of God.
It's alive. Oh, it's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Earth vs. Soup, episode 149. I'm Aaron Pollier.
And I'm Darlene.
We watched two films today because we started with a movie called Queen of Blood from 1966, a Roger Corman film, and it very quickly became apparent that it was ripping off another Soviet film from previous. Okay, so we had actually seen Roger Corman rip off Planeta Burr, and Planeta Burr is a movie that we have reviewed for Earth vs. Soup, Planet of Storms. It is arguably one of our favorite movies that we've reviewed for Earth vs. Soup. One of the found gems that wasn't really a classic per se, but we have found that we loved. And another one is like Battle Beyond the Sun.
Well, we know it as The Sky
Calls. Mm-hmm.
It's Nebo Zavyat.
Okay.
Zavot.
Mm-hmm.
The Sky Calls, which is number 48 of ours, and Planeta Burr is 29.
So we've reviewed two Soviet science fiction films that are old ones, and then we also did 105 was Stalker,
yes,
which is a little more modern. But it is a classic for many, many reasons. I'm sure, hopefully by this point you have watched it based upon our recommendation. But we ended up looking for the movie that Roger Corman took special effects and scenes from to make his movie with John Saxon and Basil Rathbone, I think, are in it.
And took off the Sputnik.
Yeah, there's some things in this that the point where I stopped it was when Basil Rathbone was talking in front of Soviet triumphalism architecture. You know, those giant statues, you know, women reaching towards the future, that kind of thing that you see even in modern Russia, Ukraine. It's very dramatic. It's a dramatic kind of architecture. It's a dramatic kind of monument that's made. I had to stop it. I was like, there's no way I can continue. We have to find the original. And we did. The original movie is from 1963, and it's Mechty Navstrahu, which is also known as A Dream Come True. Unless you're huge in Soviet science fiction circles, I guess, you would not recognize the directors or actors in this movie.
She's pretty, though.
There's an actress that actually is the lead top billed person in this, and I agree, she is the reason this movie gets tied together. Her name is Larissa Gordachik, and I guess rumor has it that she actually worked as like a radio factory assembler, she assembled radios at a factory and was discovered, and she's gorgeous. She's gorgeous. She was only in a few movies. She's still alive today too. She is old at this point, but fantastic actress who really can emote and used her eyes very well in this movie. And as I said, she brought some heart to this movie, whereas it could have been fairly dry. The rest of the actors, the lead actors, aren't very charismatic. There's a little bit of charisma. I'll be fair. That's with Andre, right? Her love interest.
Yeah, Andre, the cosmonaut. She's
Yes.
a cosmonaut too.
She is.
And then there's when we're dealing with the aliens, everything is like blurred on our one that we were watching from, was it Prime?
No, we watched our version on YouTube, though you can actually get copies of like legitimate DVDs. We just wanted to watch a version of this movie immediately because we were thinking about it after seeing the first part of Queen of Blood. But yeah, it purposely is blurry. The aliens are blurry because the only time we truly see them before the end of the movie is because of a ship's log recording, basically, and it was damaged coming to Earth. So there's a reason why it's blurry. So let's talk about the plot. I think it is actually an interesting plot because to me there's two thrusts to this. So we have a lot of old Soviet science fiction has a lot of narration in it, because they're trying to teach something in it, even if it is science fiction.
Well, Tanya is it her that was translating for Dr. Whatever?
Yes. She's a communication specialist. She's like a radio astronomer. And
she hears this stuff and translates it because they're monitoring this noise that comes from, and they finally translate it, have a big meeting in front of the Sputnik lady.
What the statue of holding Sputnik and reaching out to the... Well, here, hold on. There, even before that scene, we have Tanya and her love interest having that boat trip. So you just jump ahead a scene. And it establishes the fact that there's a relationship. And it's actually kind of cute because they flirt. The cosmonaut has a crystal radio set that he like invented or built from scratch. And it's this tiny little thing. And she's like, well, what is it? And he's like, oh, I don't really want to talk about it right now. Because he's trying to be a little coy and just get her into the boat so they can go like hold hands. Because this is Soviet science fiction. They're not going to show any hanky-panky on screen. That's just not cool. But it's clear that he's trying to just get her into the boat so they can go out and have a nice sailing day. And she's like, well, fine, then I won't ask you about it again. And she just kind of starts walking away. And he's like, okay, fine. It's a radio. You can listen to it. And that's where they hear, like, there's this musical interlude. And unlike musicals, Soviet science fiction tends to have musical interludes that are a part of the movie, but it's usually, I shouldn't say usually, I should say it's not always characters in the movie singing it. And in this case, they aren't. They're listening to this kind of nice, patriotic Soviet song, but it's not really political at all. It's more of
apples, trees, and
there will be apple trees blooming on Mars. Mother Earth is happy for her children to go out amongst the stars, and there will be apple trees blooming on Mars.
And this is supposed to be taking in 1990?
No,
or was that the
that's
other movie?
That's the other movie. That's the Roger Corman movie. It's taking place in the near future. And from what I can tell about the world's setting, there is a Soviet Union, but it looks like most of the world has had their revolutions, and there's a generalized world government. And are the Soviets on top? They really don't talk about that. There is no real anti-capitalist propaganda in this. I've read in some places online that people lump this together with other Soviet propaganda films, and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? There's Soviets that are heroes in this, just like there are Americans that are heroes in some American science fiction movies, but I wouldn't consider The Crawling Hand an American propaganda, like an anti-communist propaganda film, right? Like, that's just insanity.
That would be like saying
The Blob is anti-communist, or
I was going to say something a little bit newer, which was Armageddon. That's definitely a rah Americans,
but it's not anti-Soviet. It's not anti-socialism either. This is not a propaganda movie. So if you read that somewhere, this is not propaganda. The only stuff that comes in that is slightly political is the fact that the Soviet Union is mentioned as being a world power. Okay. They have a very well-developed space program.
That's also on the moon.
They have a moon base, but the moon base seems to be international.
International, yeah.
There are rockets that are Soviet, CCCP, on the side, that have a Soviet flag, but it's not mentioned that they're the only ones that have a space program. They just so happen to have like a specific program happening in this movie that they are able to take advantage of. The ocean rocket.
The ocean rocket from moon that was going to go anyway to
Mars.
So
let's go back to the plot here. We have this musical interlude, but then we get to go to have this amazing matte painting set that is built, and it's in Gagarin Square. That's what they call it. And all the scientists and astronauts are called to Gagarin Square for this important announcement. And the signals, it's announced here that the signals from space have been received and translated, and that a spacecraft has been detected approaching Earth. And the reason why it's coming to Earth is, I guess, that they have heard our music, specifically the song that Tanya was listening to. Because what's interesting is that we have a whole series of scenes, quick scenes, showing the aliens getting together and launching their spacecraft, their starship. And a lot of the tones that are used in the spaceship powering up or its engines are actually refrains from the song. So to me, that represents the fact that like these aliens became interested in humanity because of music. That maybe they saw some sort of kindred spirit with humanity and music for some reason.
But they're called the Centuria.
Yeah, they come from a planet called Centuria.
And this one, we laughed because when we were watching the Queen
of Blood,
it showed it as Mars.
And it's very clearly not Mars.
And it's very clearly blue-green.
Yeah, it's not Mars. It's not Mars. Roger Corman, you screwed up. You could have just tinted that red and been like, but no, you decided to just not do a damn thing. Anyway.
And the delegate, they translated that the Centurions are sending a delegate to Earth.
Yeah, because they want to just talk with us.
But then
they're interested in our culture and they want to share culture with us.
But then they have to send an SOS that they crashed on Mars.
Yes. And it's not really made clear why they crash on Mars, but they crash on Mars as they come into the solar system. Now, what's interesting is that as Earth loses contact with the spacecraft, they do detect the fact that something broke off of it and is coming to Earth. And we see some humans watching this shooting star. It's a falling star, but it turns out that it's the ship's log. Okay, and it's a very tiny thing. And then we have another jump in time where the ship's log has basically been decrypted. Okay, and this is to me, this looks like it's not quite a UN chamber. It might be like, it seems to me like it's a multinational Congress.
But it looks like it's for a space.
Yes, because there is another Soviet triumphalism statue in there of a woman holding Sputnik in her hand.
But in the picture, there's the galaxy.
Yes. So I assume, like you said, it's probably a Congress of scientists. Like, these are all learned people from all over the planet that have come together to make decisions about space and science. And I can get behind that, actually. Okay. So there are two people that are arguing two separate points. Okay. And here's where I actually wish the movie slowed down and took more time on something, because you have one group, which is the group that wins, that we need to go and rescue the Martians, not the Martians, excuse me, the Centurions, and bring them back to Earth, and we can all learn and develop together. Okay. But then there is a guy. Now, what's his name? It's Dr.
Longton.
Longton, played by Nikolai Volkov.
It's supposed to be English.
He's something. He's not
He's
supposed to be quote unquote Soviet, but he's there, and he makes an argument, and this is where maybe somebody thinks it's propaganda, but to me it's not, because he actually makes a very reasonable argument, okay, which is the Prime Directive. He's like, hey, look, we know what happened whenever humans went and found less technologically developed societies here on Earth. We all exploited them. Exploiting people is wrong. We shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't have done that.
I thought he feared that they would
And that's the point, is that he felt that we should just keep our noses down, because if we went and rescued the Centurions, that there would be some sort of cargo cult in the end, and that we should respect the Prime Directive from the other side of it. And he feared that not only would is it possible, he didn't say that this is the case, he said it's possible the Centurions could come here and make us dependent upon them for their technology, and therefore we would lose what makes us human. Now, again, I wish this argument here,
I couldn't read it fast enough.
I know, but I'm saying, listen to what I just described, though.
I know what you're saying.
I honestly think this could have been an hour worth of a very interesting science fiction, like deep science fiction film. Would it have been entertaining for your average viewer? No, absolutely not. But that debate between these two points of view, neither is conceptually wrong. Like, hey, we should need to go rescue the Centurions. They wanted to come and talk to us. We should be humane and help. Where Longton is like, well, if we go rescue them and bring them back, this is going to cause nothing but heartache for us as a society. Neither group is wrong, but in the end,
neither group is right either.
Neither group is truly right. In the end, yes, the group that says we should just go rescue them because no bad will ever happen from this is right, because no bad comes of this.
Well, we don't know, because
the movie ends. Yeah, we don't know what happens 10 years down the road when the Centurion, iron harvesting fleets come to take all the iron out of our blood. Who knows? But regardless.
But the Soviets already have a ship on the moon.
Yes.
The Ocean.
It is almost complete. It's called Ocean. Yes.
And they dispatch the crew to go to Mars.
Yeah, they're going to go to the moon first, fill up the ship with crew and supplies.
I thought they launched from the moon.
They did.
Okay. So they
went to the moon to fill up the ship with supplies. Then they launched from the moon. Now, I think there's actually a few cool scenes again on the moon. And I honestly think the elevator was funny because it always made this wonderful chime. And I kept saying, thank you for using the elevator. Because it was just such a pleasant sounding elevator when it kept operating. But I know that seems dumb. It just brought a smile to my face. The other thing is that I think the actors in some of the scenes made an effort, a real effort, to look like they were being careful not to move too quickly because of the low gravity. So they were taking baby steps and like holding their arms out because it's lunar gravity. It's not like they have artificial gravity.
I know why you thought it was cute.
What?
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Well, yes, yes. Well, no, the elevators,
so happy.
The doors are always happy there. Yeah, like, oh, thank you. I'm happy to open. But yeah, the elevators are fun in this because they have this beautiful. Ding, 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 it's not even like a ding ding ding. It's just this wonderful like little tonal thing. So they set out for Mars, and there's another musical number about Earth's sons and daughters going to the stars. The lunar moon base is super cool. it is a really good miniature that they then composited in people walking around on the surface. And it's a really good special effect. Like for 1963, that's really good.
They probably used what was walking around in Red Square or something.
Maybe.
A large open...
I'm sorry, it's Paul. Paul that is the love interest. Because now I have in my notes that Paul... And Paul's the chess guy. Paul is the guy that... No, it's not. I'm sorry. Paul's the chess guy. He's not attached to Tanya. I was just writing down like specific character traits.
I did not get...
Cosmonaut Paul is...
The only one of the comments I have is tampons with ammonia.
Damn straight. Okay, thank you. One guy gets knocked out and they shove a tampon in his face with an ammonia solution. I'm like, they're giving him a tampon covered in pee?
It wasn't that. It was
a tampon, though. That's the thing.
It was like one of our gauze things.
Soviet tampon. They just unrolled it, Darlene. Like, yeah, you're like, oh my God. But so as they're going to Mars, they learn that they cannot detect signs of life around where the starship crashed on Mars. There's no activity. Okay. A journalist ends up coming with them, and he's actually sort of adorable. Like when he came to the moon originally, he was flirting with one of the communication girls on the moon base, because on his journey from Earth, he had like stuffed his pockets with fresh flowers and was like giving them to people, because I guess flowers are incredibly rare to have on the moon. But the fact is that he had like a pocket full of really nice flowers that he just kept pulling them out and just smiling at the girls and giving, and they thought it was adorable. It wasn't like creepy. It's just that he was like, here you go. You know, I'm so happy to have like a woman smile or whatever. I guess that's what it was. It didn't come across as creepy. So we have another kind of narration bit where, as on their way to Mars, the narrator says, the problem with humans will be on any one of these trips to Mars or like to the moon or wherever, that humanity doesn't stop at the edge of the atmosphere, that we as humans continue to have the same drives and desires as we go out, right? The difference is that we're kind of trapped together. So often these drives and desires become emphasized when we're alone and away from many people. So, and I guess that was supposed to represent the fact that like Andre and Tanya have this kind of burning relationship together that we never see because it's a Soviet science fiction film and they're not going to show that on screen.
But you have all this musical dealing with their love scenes.
Well, yeah, that's all you need to know. That's all you need to know in this style of movie, right? They end up having like mandatory fun time on the ship. Like their schedule is obviously very highly controlled.
This might be a translation thing too, like the tampon with ammonia.
Like tobacco, chicken, and donuts.
Yes.
Yeah. We have lots of weird translation stories about Russian to English, English to Russian. Anyway, it might be, but let's see here. Where am I now?
There's one person that keeps trying to play their chessboard as they're going to
that's Paul. That's
Mars. Paul. There's the old guy that doesn't want to deal with anyone, just grumpy face.
Yes, there's the journalist, right?
The journalist is left at the moon.
No, that's Andre. That's the one that was flirting with Tanya. Oh no, I'm sorry. You said moon. I was thinking Phobos. I apologize. This is where Paul passes out, and they wake him up with the ammonia-soaked tampon. I don't know why he passes out. Do you know why he passes out?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
no, all of them did.
Was it acceleration?
It was acceleration.
Oh yeah, they were decelerating into Mars orbit.
And they circled 19 times from what I read.
Yes. So they're circling Mars, trying to signal. They don't get any signal. They land on Mars to make
And then
contact. And this, they don't crash.
No.
They set down, and here's what's weird. They go, okay, Mars is lifeless, but like when they go out on the surface,
There's flowers.
There are flowers. It's weird, and they don't even really look at it. Like, this is the greatest discovery of all time. No one's been to Mars yet. These people are like the first humans on Mars, right?
I don't know.
They don't plant a flag. They don't do the flag thing. They do not.
I don't know if they were the first ones on Mars.
Well, this ocean was supposed to be the first manned mission to Mars.
Oh.
Yeah. So they end up not able to find any surviving Centurions. They find a couple corpses, but since they deciphered the log and it had these visual recordings, they realized that there's like 3 Centurions that aren't here, that they're somewhere else.
Yeah, they land because they ran out. They only had enough fuel. The reason they couldn't take back off was because they didn't have enough fuel or something like that. And then they sent a rescue place that landed on Phobos.
Yeah, they have like a rescue. They have like a pod that had enough fuel to launch on its own to get to Phobos, because they said, okay, look, we're going to set up satellites in Mars orbit to look for if there's any place on Mars that these aliens have gone and taken shelter. But we're going to go to Phobos as well, because Phobos is really a low orbiting moon. Phobos is a bunch of rock that is slowly deorbiting in Mars orbit. It's the nearer of the 2 moons.
And at this time, you said something about Phobos being something that the Soviets were thinking about making into.
Yeah. There's this thing. A lot of the Mars programs, Soviet Mars programs, like Phobos missions, they named them Phobos, but they had this idea, and I don't know how widespread it was, because remember, a lot of the stuff that I read about the Soviet space stuff was either before the Iron Curtain came down, and it was stuff that I learned from my friend that was Soviet at the time, so that might have been misinformation for whatever reason, or it was weird stuff afterwards. But there was like a lot of Soviet interest in developing Phobos as an orbiting base around Mars. Makes sense. You can use it as a radiation shelter. It is small. It is a tiny little potato rock that circles Mars. It's very small. You can
put it with a spin. You might be able to use it as a.
Well, if you spin it, it's going to fly apart. What you need to do is fuse the surface into one like solid piece of glass and then spin it for gravity. But Phobos is so small that you could basically sneeze and send yourself hundreds of meters into the sky. It has a very, very, very low escape. It's about 20 miles an hour escape velocity. So this one, it's Andre goes to Phobos, and he's going to set up like an observation thing on Phobos. And it turns out that the Centurions actually crashed also on Phobos.
There was something to deal with a solar storm. Why they were going to Mars too.
Yes, but they had they put up radiation shielding or something like that. They had like, they call them blocks, like block 3 and 8. But yeah, there was a radiation storm on the way to Mars. Anyway, it turns out that there is one surviving alien. And the people that went to Phobos, since they weren't really expecting to find the aliens on Phobos, their ship is with 2 people. For 2 people. That's all it can fit.
But the ship that was on Mars, they found a dead person on.
Yeah, they found dead Centurions there. It's just that there were like, because there was 3 Centurions that were actually on Phobos, but 2 of them died. 1 was a survivor. Okay. So, and I forget, it's Pocheppa is the woman who plays the alien woman. And she's actually she's stunning as well. But this is where Andre has to make the choice to stay behind on Phobos, because he felt that saving this alien and bringing her back to Earth meant far more than his own life. That this would mean so much to humanity. So he would sacrifice his own life and stay behind so this alien woman can live. And Tanya's very upset about this.
Grumpy old man, I thought, was going to do it.
Yeah, but he decided not to because grumpy old man is like the best to go back to Earth anyway and represent the mission. Because this, I guess, like Andre's like, oh, I guess I'm not really the best suited for any of this. I'm the most expendable member of the mission. Because remember, grumpy old guy is actually like a big deal. He's like the most experienced cosmonaut. Where Paul's like just a young guy that knows how to like fix things. Yeah, but everybody knows how to fix things. He's redundant. And it just so happens that yes, he's the love interest to Tanya. It's sad. There's a lot of kind of moony eyes. And we end up having a broadcast from the cosmonauts to Earth that say, the surviving alien breathes our own air. It's a miracle. She breathes our own air and even looks like us. They look like humans and we look like Centurions. This is the most amazing thing because we have to assume that most aliens would not look like us, nor breathe our air, or eat the same food. Now they don't say if she's able to actually consume our food, that if the proteins are in the same, direction, the left-handed, right-handed proteins.
They wouldn't think that stuff at that time, would
No,
they?
but I mean, they did say like she can breathe our air. It's amazing. And she comes to Earth with an open heart and a hope for peace. Dr. Longton, you were wrong. You were wrong, Dr. Longton. That it isn't about Columbus Day where suddenly the native Earthlings are going to be wrecked. Dr. Longton is wrong. The universe is filled with peace-loving people. So that's the end. The end. Darlene, thoughts about the movie overall? What do you think worked?
The prettiness.
Okay, define the prettiness, Darlene.
There was a lot of painting, matte paintings. There was, even when they were filming the inside of the aliens' space station,
The sets were amazing.
It was beautiful because they turned the colors.
The set design in this is fantastic, especially the alien stuff.
It's not just the set design; it was the photography, the cinematography.
Yeah,
that was good.
Very good, very good. If this was dubbed, you would have had no problem following it. I guarantee you would have thought the plot was actually pretty darn good.
I couldn't follow it though.
Is it the best of the Soviet movies that we have watched? No, it's not. It's not. Planeta Burr is still like stunningly good.
I think I would have rolled my eyes still about the love interest singing stuff. I wanted to walk out every time that
they weren't singing though. Remember, it was just.
I know, but
to me, it was actually nice music.
It was nice music, but I'd rather have walked out and listened to it instead of watching.
Moony eyes at each other?
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair. I would say the acting is actually pretty good in this. Acting, the cinematography, for sure. Triumphalism as an architecture style or as an art style is always uplifting to me for some reason. It's always that thrusting forward into the future, reaching out to space, reaching out to the future. I love seeing it in art. I love seeing it in the matte paintings here. I love seeing it in everything in this movie. It looks great. I like the philosophical debate between Longton and the other scientists. I thought that could have actually done more, because basically Longton's arguing the prime directive from the other side, being like, hey, we need to be protected from more advanced civilizations because we're just going to be exploited. Like the way he doesn't say it, but I was going to say like,
and we're not too sure at the end that we don't become exploited.
Yeah, we don't know.
Because even in Star Trek, you technically got exploited by the Vulcans for a century or so.
I would argue you're wrong. The Vulcans don't want to have anything to do with us.
But
They don't use us for anything either.
No, they don't. But they're kind of holding
They're
back.
dicks, but that doesn't mean they're exploiting us.
And how do you know whether you're exploiting somebody or helping them?
Well, that's the question that Longton is like, hey, how can we tell what's going on? Maybe they truly do feel like they're helping, but like he said, we might become dependent upon them for medicine or something like that, and we might not be able to develop on our own. He makes an interesting argument, and I wish that they would have actually delved deeper into it. Now, I'm not saying that as a strike against the movie. I'm just shocked that they even brought it up, the idea, in the first place. And to me, that kind of philosophical note in this movie is something that I would say works.
But you can't make a movie totally on it.
No, you cannot. I'm not arguing that.
Maybe a season in a show.
Well, an episode. But I'm saying, like, it adds something to this film. It adds something that you can think about afterwards, rather than just like moony, lovey eyes, right? Darlene, what doesn't work?
The moony eyes.
The love story. Fair enough. Anything else?
I couldn't read it fast enough to get the plot a lot of times.
I'm always baffled about you and subtitles, because I know you can actually read and read very quickly. But like, that was, to me, it was...
I'm trying to look at the film itself, and I can't read and watch the film.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll miss one or the other.
Okay.
So I want to do one or the other. And I'm fighting with doing both.
Fair enough. So the love thing is about the only thing you can say does not work in this. I would say it's fine. I would say the only thing that really doesn't work in this movie is the pacing. I think the pacing seems to actually be hit and miss. There's scenes that definitely don't need to be there. Like, a lot of the stuff on the moon doesn't need to be there, and it slows the movie down. But does it harm the movie? Maybe not that badly.
Like the reporter thing.
Yeah, maybe not that badly, but it does slow the movie down unnecessarily. And maybe it falls into the category of does not work. Like, there's not a lot that doesn't work in this movie, right? There is some.
As long as you take it the perspective of that it is an older movie.
It's Soviet.
Russian, so it's foreign. And it's
going to be strange because it's Soviet. But if you liked Planeta Burr, obviously this isn't as good as Planeta Burr or like Battle Beyond the Stars.
But its stuff was pretty nice. The settings and sittings and
the set design, the matte painting, like the production stuff that's here is top notch. It's top notch. And one of the things I'm kind of seeing as a pattern in these old Soviet science fiction films is the production, the behind the scenes production value for these, like the sets, the matte paintings, special effects. These are things that are really, really well thought out and well done. Far more so than US science fiction films of the same era. I'd put a Soviet film of 1963, like this is, up against a US film of the same genre, like, so space opera, a little bit of a space opera, and I guarantee you this movie looks way better. And you would not necessarily think that a Soviet science fiction film would be anywhere near as quality.
They're trying to push their space exploration, though.
Yeah. Everyone was proud of their space program in the 1960s, but my point is that the perception that we have as Americans is that Soviet filmmaking is low tech and cheap compared to Western filmmaking. And I would say that perception is wrong. Very, very wrong. This movie might plot a little bit. It might be a little confusing plot wise, but by God, it looks good. the production quality, the costumes, even. The spacesuits are fantastic. They might be a little goofy looking, but they're unique. They're clearly made for this movie. The sets are all clearly made for this movie. And that just is a wonderful thing that we need to celebrate, especially when you think about these movies in context to the US stuff, where Roger Corman is just ripping it all off and turning it into a vampire attack on the moon, which Queen of Blood is.
And the one thing I wanted to say is where they had the debate. That could have been a Duma.
Well, that's what I called it. I called it a Duma at first, and then you said, no, Aaron, it's clearly a science conference because of the galaxy on like the wall screen and the woman
holding... But I'm
holding...
saying that it could have actually been...
Oh, it's not the Duma. It's not.
Could have been using an auditorium.
It's an auditorium at a university or something.
A university or something.
Because it's not the State Duma.
Which is something we can't always do here in the States. We can't use something that...
You say that, but I can think of at least 2 or 3 movies that we've reviewed that do that. Monster on Campus being one of them, where they actually just used a university and used facilities at it. Like, okay, as long as you pay the university, like, hey, I'm going to film over the summer, you're not using this auditorium. Sure, why not? I'll give you a couple $1,000, university. There's nothing wrong with that, even today. Like, just don't show the university in a bad light. Oh, no, well, we're not going to show that it's whatever university. We're just going to make it our own thing. We just need to use the auditorium. There's no problems with that. There's no problems with that. It's just that it's generally not done.
Yes, it's generally not done. And they probably have more access to what they could use of stuff like that.
Yes.
Could we film in our Capitol building?
If we got the permits, I'm sure we could. If we got the like, are you talking about the Michigan State?
Yeah.
Yeah. Permits. That's fine. I mean, you can go in there with cameras and videotape as it is right now. So I don't see, like, as long as all the security is maintained, right? As long as everyone's safe and that, like, state security, the state capitol security would be there, everything's fine. But when you're in the Soviet Union, if you screw up, you're going to go to the gulag. I'm sure that wouldn't have happened here. That's just me kind of joking. But the fact is that if you disrespect something openly,
some babushka is going to
beat the hell out of you.
Rack your knuckles.
Rack your knuckles? Beat the hell out of you with a broom, more like it.
I was trying to be more American-like.
I loved those babushkas that were around.
Oh, you can look at this painting. That's fine.
No, in the story. Okay, so the story is in 1992 when I went to the Hermitage in St. Petersburg, which it had become St. Petersburg. It used to be Leningrad. Hermitage is like filled with beautiful artwork of the masters. I mean, it's amazing. Nothing is really behind glass or protective casings. They just have old grandmothers sitting in chairs nearby, glaring at you the entire time. And if you approach closely to a painting, they might stand up or they might get their cane and push you back. And you know that if they yelled, there were armed guards all over the place. But if they raised their voice, then the armed guard would come over and beat the hell out of you with an AK.
And then there was also the babushkas at the
the subways. That would continually maintain them and sweep them. And then if you drop litter, you'd get the hell beat out of you with a broom. Because this is a public space. This is for everybody. This is the People's Palace. And that's the metro in Moscow. This is the People's Palace.
Don't litter.
Don't litter. You treat it with respect. And yeah, you do.
And you treated your grandmothers, which is what
respect.
Word babusha means.
Well, it's babushka's grandmothers. But yeah, I mean, I doubt that if they're filming in a university's auditorium that there wasn't like a war veteran woman sitting back there with like a Tokarov in her hand going, I'll gun you the hell down if you screw up that seat or you drop like if you put makeup on this beautiful statue that's there. Anyway, we're babbling. We're babbling. This is a good movie. We recommend it. I liked it.
I liked it too. I just would have.
If it was dubbed, it would have been way more entertaining to you. You would have enjoyed it a lot more. But even without the dub and it was subtitled, you were fine with it, right? You're like, okay, I get what the movie's doing.
I kind of got what the movie was doing.
And to me, I didn't have a problem with it. I liked it. It's not as good as Planeta Burr by any means. Planeta Burr is like a 9 out of 10 film. But I do recommend this. It's worth watching. So maybe we should just leave it there.
Yep.
So I'm Aaron.
I'm Darlene. Good evening.
And keep watching the skies.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at thisweekingeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.